Hi everyone, I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzzer, folks.
Take him back! Take him out!
I hope you die in prison as well.
First up, we're inside Highland County Courthouse in Greenfield, Ohio. At the edge of the camera's view, deputies are taking 34-year-old Nicholas Garrison into custody. He's been convicted of possession of methamphetamine. But, as the deputies are about to find out, he's in possession of another kind of speed. Now he's going, gone. Let's back things up and see exactly what happened here. Watch as Garrison waits to make his break until both deputies have their backs to him. He then splits the two officers. And a third is no match for his open court speed. He hits the stairs as Deputy Ben Reno takes a flying leap over the railing to stop him. But Garrison just slips through his fingers and is able to break out of the courthouse and escape outside. Nicholas Garrison would elude police for almost 4 days before being captured. He now faces additional charges for his courtroom breakout. As for Deputy Reno, who took that daring dive into the stairwell, he suffered 4 broken ribs and a minor concussion in his attempt to foil the escape, but eventually made a full recovery. Next, we're in Paris, Kentucky, where 30-year-old Bass Webb has been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. This surveillance video taken outside a Kentucky jail a week earlier captured the moment when Webb, a former inmate there who served 3 months on assault charges, accelerated his car and tried to run over 2 jail employees. One man was able to get out of the way, but one man was injured after Webb's vehicle pinned him against a wall. At his first court appearance before Judge Vanessa Dixon, Webb's bad behavior continued.
Yes.
Judge Dixon then informed Webb she's recusing herself from the trial because she knew the 2 jail employees he targeted with his vehicle. Watch again, as Webb literally spit on the judge. But this incident is far from the last time Bass Webb will spit in the face of the law. While waiting to go to trial, he and 4 other inmates incited a riot inside the Fayette County Detention Center. After being shot with beanbag bullets, then hit in the neck by a pepper ball, Webb whips a metal telephone box at a corrections officer.
If I were to launch this at someone 10 feet away, because this is capable of stopping that, does not mean that that is not readily capable of causing death or serious physical injury.
Webb was found guilty of 3rd-degree assault and sentenced to 15 years in prison. And for his attempt to run over the 2 jail employees, he was later found guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder and got an additional 37 years. Bass Webb was facing a total of 52 years behind bars, but more disturbing accusations were on the way. Incarcerated, he was charged with the unsolved murder of an ex-girlfriend. Facing a possible death sentence if convicted at trial, Webb pled guilty to the murder and got an additional 50 years. Now, 5 years later, Bass Webb is back in court yet again after being charged with the murder of a different girlfriend nearly a decade earlier. The cold case came back to haunt him after a jailhouse tip led to the discovery of the woman's remains. This time, as he's let in, he revealed a new sinister look that shocks those in attendance. A closer look at Webb's recent head tattoos reveals a demented murder hit list. It reads, "Those that must die. All judges, all prosecutors, all cops, the media." Below that, 3 rats have been scratched out, and many more, plus an expletive on the other side. Gruesome details emerge about how Webb choked his then-girlfriend to death, buried her body in a shallow grave.
Mr. Webb, you want to come forward?
When the judge asks Webb to come forward, he remains seated and smiles. Finally, after more than a week in the courtroom, the judge reads the jury's verdict.
You have found the defendant guilty of the offense of intentional murder.
Das Webb is then sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after Green Bay, Wisconsin, where a sentencing hearing for David Myers underway.
I can promise that I'll live every day for the rest of my life trying to make amends for this.
So what is the 46-year-old defendant trying to make amends for? 2 counts of homicide by use of a vehicle. A year earlier, while driving drunk, Meyer crossed the center line, killing a mother and her teenage daughter who were walking alongside the road. His blood alcohol content was nearly 3 times the legal limit. Before a packed courtroom, a family representative reads an emotional statement on behalf of the grieving husband and father whose life Meyer destroyed.
I am scared, stressed, overwhelmed, and most of all, heartbroken. No one has ever loved me as much and as completely as Becky and Raylia did.
Meyer then addresses the court.
There's nothing I can say that's gonna ease their pain. There's no words I can say to give them any peace. I continue to tell everyone I meet that when you drink, the first thing you lose is your judgment. I spend every day trying to make amends for this. I know nothing's gonna be enough. I can't expect and ask for forgiveness when I can't forgive myself.
Meyer's statement impacts many in the courtroom. But veteran Judge William Atkinson is perhaps the one affected most.
I've seen too many of these cases. I've seen too many people suffer from drunk driving. I recognize the pain. I can only imagine if my wife, my daughter, come home one night. Families come into this courtroom hoping that the sentence I impose will lessen the pain of the loss. It doesn't.
Prosecutors had asked for a sentence of 22 years for Meyer, but after weighing his lack of a criminal history, among other factors, Judge Atkinson sentences him to 10 years. In closing, the judge makes a plea to all those impacted by the tragedy. It's advice he's become all too familiar at giving.
I hope I've planted the seed at some point in your lives. I hope you have the ability to obtain the freedom that comes with forgiveness.
Next, we go to a bond hearing in Miami-Dade County.
You're doing out of turn. Sorry about that.
The defendant is Juan Rodriguez, charged with attempted murder and aggravated battery in the stabbing of a nurse he believed had stolen from him at an assisted living facility in Miami.
Sorry about that. Didn't give you a heads up.
The defendant appears remotely before Judge Beatrice Buchko.
1 second. He cannot be there when I talk to you.
From the moment the hearing begins, Rodriguez is making demands.
This guy cannot be there when I talk to you.
But things quickly take a turn for the worse.
Listen to me. You don't let me out of here, I'm gonna kill you.
When Rodriguez begins to threaten the judge.
I'm a Jew. I'm gonna take your life if you don't let me out of here.
So what has Rodriguez so worked up?
Okay? I'm done. Now let's eat breakfast. The dog's cooking.
According to news reports, Rodriguez is angry because he's missing out on the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah.
I'm gonna kill you.
The judge casually brushes off Rodriguez's threats.
Juan Rodriguez is charged with attempted murder, first degree. I'm going to go ahead and appoint the public defender, seeing as that he doesn't appear to be in a condition to respond
What do you want?
appropriately.
What's your pleasure? What do you want from me?
The judge gives Rodriguez a stern look, but keeps her cool.
If you don't let me out of here, I'm gonna kill you.
Okay. Thank you, Corrections. Probable cause, no bond. Appoint the public defender.
Without missing a beat, the judge orders Rodriguez held without bond. So that means he misses out on the apples and honey and the rest of the holiday meal.
So,
Now let's eat breakfast. The dog's cooking.
1304-001, State of Arizona versus Christopher Robert Lesniak.
We're back in Maricopa County, Arizona, in the courtroom of Superior Court Commissioner Julie Newell. She's overseeing the arraignment of 50-year-old Christopher Lesniak, charged with aggravated assault. The victim, a man, isn't identified for privacy reasons and not present in court.
Right, does the state want to make a record?
No, Your Honor, no offers officially been made yet.
As Commissioner Newell proceeds with the hearing, a woman from the gallery stands up, preparing to address the court.
Ma'am, please be seated. Please be seated.
I was making an announcement.
Please be seated. And you'll make an announcement only when the court allows you to do that. Thank you.
The woman the commissioner is yelling at is Sheila Madden, a lawyer for the victim. Madden, a former commissioner herself, previously worked with Newell, but Newell would later claim she didn't recognize her.
You'll make an announcement only when the court allows you to do that.
Despite her former colleague's terse statement, Madden has the right to be heard at court proceedings involving her client.
Sir, if you move on now, fail to appear for your next court date, which is August 31st, a warrant can issue for your arrest, and your trial could proceed in your absence. Understand that? Yes.
The rest of the hearing continues without interruption.
All right, good luck, sir.
But when it ends and Madden isn't called on, she again tries to address Commissioner Newell.
Judge, I wish to be heard.
Sir, ma'am, sit down, please.
Ma'am,
Sit down! That's the last warning, otherwise get out of the courtroom. Leave the courtroom, or I will have you removed from the courtroom. I will have you removed. I will have you removed. Get out of the courtroom right now. Out of the courtroom right now. Get a deputy in here right now, please.
And with the tension in the courtroom at its peak,
Judge, can I make a record?
the defense attorney steps in to try to simmer things down between the two former co-workers.
I'm sorry, but I have spoken with Sheila Madden. She represents the victim in connection with this case. I've worked with her, so she represents the victim. She was very professional in contacting me. She's a former judge. I hold her in high esteem just as I do you. So I don't want to be caught in the middle here, but
I'm not taking any comments with regards to the victim in this case. That is for a later hearing.
Perhaps sensing it was a no-win situation, or knowing a deputy is moments away from removing her, Madden makes a move for the exit. As for Commissioner Newell, she would never hear any comments in regard to the victim in the case, or any other. The following day, she resigned from her position and later received a public reprimand for her harsh and inappropriate courtroom demeanor.
I will have you removed from the courtroom.
I am the living man whose mark is that of life.
Next, we're at the Gallatin County Courthouse in Bozeman, Montana.
The defendant, Ernie Wayne Tertelgit, he is not represented by counsel here today.
52-year-old Ernie Tertelgit is charged with obstructing a peace officer and resisting arrest after he was caught fishing without a license. The hearing is just underway.
Mr. Tertelgit has been charged with 2 misdemeanor offenses, which we'll be trying today.
I must object. I am not the name that he is referring to. I am the living man. The name that Mr. Riley refers to, ma'am, is held by the state in all capital letters and is identified by the state on the state's driver's license, ma'am. I am not the all capital fiction. I am the living man whose mark is that of life.
Tertelgit is representing himself today as the natural living man. It's his own interpretation of a sovereign citizen.
Mr. Tertelgit, you are not to interrupt Mr. Riley again.
Who can tell the living man in a commercial event such as this,
Sir?
who has the right to tell the living man when he can speak and when he cannot speak, what sounds he can make and what sounds he cannot make?
You understand?
He is addressing British law, ma'am. He is a minister on behalf of Great Britain.
Great Britain? It seems this living man takes issue with the traditional British title of Esquire, being used in an American courtroom.
I'm going to hold you in contempt if you continue to disrupt this.
Ma'am, why? Please give me an honorable answer. Is a British recognized Esquire asking questions in an American courtroom? Why is title of nobility applied behind this gentleman's name that is recognized as being banned from our country in the 1789 Constitution?
Maladies, but he does believe in interrupting. And Judge Wanda Drush has had enough.
Mr. Tertelgit, you'll be taken to a jury room where we may watch the proceedings. I have reminded you twice now.
How do I give you recognition?
Well, please stand up.
Stand up. No, pick me up. I cannot give you recognition. I'm constrained by the United States Constitution of 1789.
Before he's escorted out, Tertelget hurls a Yankee Doodle dandy of an insult at the prosecuting attorney.
Sir, you're a Bozeman native. What are you doing back in the British recognition? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Banned from participating, Tertelget can only watch the courtroom remotely, as his case is finally able to continue. The jury would eventually find him guilty, and although jail time is waived, he's ordered to pay more than $400 in fines.
Our home should be a safe haven for all who dwell there, especially for children.
We're back in Jacksonville, Florida, for a hearing from the Court Cam archives. A grandmother's on the stand, mourning the senseless loss of her young grandson.
I would never see him walk, play, smile, celebrate another birthday, Christmas, or realize his dreams.
Moments later, the courtroom erupts. That was the victim's family, and this was a fight that was a long time in the making. Nearly 5 years earlier, the defendants Andre Fisher and Derek Cummings were convicted of first-degree murder after killing a 5-year-old boy in his home during a drive-by shooting. Initially, both were sentenced to death, but the Florida Supreme Court later overturned it, ruling the killing was not premeditated, thus making it second-degree murder. Death penalty now off the table, the men are back in court for resentencing.
Your Honor, I asked on behalf of my family, which has been altered for life, and the safety of our children and our neighborhoods, please give the maximum sentence possible. Thank you.
With emotions already running high in the courtroom, the victim's grandmother then shows a photo of her grandson lying in an open casket. Off camera in the gallery, the sobering image is an unbearably painful reminder to the boy's family, especially his father.
See where they put him, what they did to him.
The distraught dad attempts to leap on top of the defendants. After the boy's father first attacks, more members of the victim's family pile on with fists flying. Someone even uses an umbrella. As one officer gets a defendant out of the courtroom, another stands guard on top of a table. Eventually, officers help the second defendant out of the courtroom, get everything back under control. The victim's father and 2 other family members are arrested and charged with contempt of court. As for Andre Fisher and Derek Cummings, they would later be resentenced to life in prison. That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.